news from a senior executive of BH Billiton that Chinese demand for iron ore has flattened out and will continue to do so has struck terror in the minds of those worried about global growth. Martin Essex has been following the market reaction to this story this morning. Martin, I gather the Australian dollar fell pretty sharply on this, which really, I guess, sums up people's nervousness about Chinese growth.
Yes, I wouldn't quite call it terror, but certainly this is the main worry about the global economy at the moment, that the Chinese economy may be slowing too quickly. And this was the president of BHP Billiton's iron ore division saying that their demand for iron ore might well be slowing. Iron ore, of course, is a major component of steel, so it would suggest that the whole Chinese economy is beginning to slow rather quickly.
I mean, one of the key things here is that people have been hoping, okay, the Chinese themselves, Beijing has admitted that yes, growth won't be quite so manic this year as it was last year. But the whole thing is that people really want China to come in with a soft landing. They don't want a hard landing, which really could have enormous ramifications globally. Is this a case here that perhaps this is going to be a problem if we're going to see demand of things like iron ore slowing so sharply?
They've already cut their growth forecast to 7.5%. And the other big worry is the way that prices are going up in China. So we've heard over the last few days about rising prices of food, especially vegetables, chicken, beef and so forth, and separately rising prices for gasoline and diesel. And this is a major worry for the Chinese authorities because it means they can't just pump more money into the economy.
Absolutely, and I mean, food prices are politically a pretty explosive topic in China. I mean, you know, a lot of people, the price of food goes up and people really do suffer over that.
Because, of course, in China, some people are getting rich and others aren't. And
also, I assume that a lot of people are much closer to the breadline, so these things really do matter.
There are still a lot of poor people in China, and what really matters to them is the prices of basic foodstuffs such as vegetables. So you have to worry about the way that prices are going up for the whole political system there.
And that means basically that the chances of them achieving this soft landing, which they could do by easy monetary policy, lowering interest rates, they may not be able to do now. So that means I assume that the chances of a hard landing becomes that much more becomes higher.
Yes, it's all a matter of management. It's all a matter of making sure that the Chinese economy slows gradually and doesn't crash, because that would be the major problem for the world economy.
Absolutely, and I mean, that is the key thing here, the whole world economy. Now, we've seen improvements in the US, but the US seems very careful here about what it's going to do next. I mean, a lot of people are suggesting that the Fed should basically abandon its sort of quantitative easing, its easy monetary policy, but the Fed seems to be trying to stay cautious.
Yes, I mean, most people still think that the US economy is recovering reasonably well. Most of the data, not all of it, shows that. And that's why we've seen a rise in US Treasury yields over the last week or so, because it looks as though there's a recovery. But it is very fragile. And the result of that is that the US monetary authorities, the Federal Reserve, are not yet talking about a tighter monetary policy anytime soon.
So really, it's a case here of not really looking at the economic data coming out of the US and saying, oh, well, that's looking strong, so we should really expect a rate rise. But actually, we really need to listen to what the Fed officials themselves say.
Well, still officially, monetary policy is going to be kept easy for years to come. But we're just looking for signs that maybe that policy is about to change.
And that's really going to be one of the key elements here, Martin. Thank you very much indeed. It'll be interesting to see how this pans out and how much impact China has on the rest of the world. It's very kind.